Hey, I'm Dr. Honey, and you're listening to the Honey Fact Podcast sponsored by Brown Editing. Elevate your resume, cover letter, or other application materials today with Brown Editing. You can hit me up in the link in my bio, or you can hit me up at browneditingllc@gmail.com. So today we're going to talk a little bit seriously, and we're going to talk a little bit more intentionally about the scholarship that you discuss in law school and the scholarship that's behind a lot of the jurisprudence that makes up our legal, field, our legal system today. And I just want to talk very, very frankly and very, very seriously about the character of these different people who made up our legal system. So without further ado, um, let's get into it. So first off, let's talk about the fact that a lot of these people that we read in law school are Zionists. Um, Frankfurter was a Zionist, Brandeis was a Zionist, Harlan was a great friend of both Frankfurter and Brandeis, who were both Zionists, and they both vehemently agreed with the settler colonialist project of Israel when it was first coming into being in the 1940s. They also were supporters of the Nakba, which is the violent displacement of Palestinians from Palestine to wherever they could resettle. The violent displacement took place from 1947, roughly, and I'm not a Palestinian scholar, so I'll link some great resources in the bio to, so you can further your knowledge on that. I'm not a Palestinian scholar, but I do know that the scholarship and the people that we read in law school is really Zionist propaganda in a lot of ways because they didn't disagree with the settler colonialist project. They didn't have any problem with racism. They were also vehement eugenicists. Just a lot of the people that we read in law school were not good people. And they had terrible morals, terrible, terrible morals. These people were not morally upstanding people, like members of the society. And yet in law school, we are taught that this is good. Like, I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've had a professor tell me, oh, Frankfurter was a great, brilliant justice. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, this motherfucker was a fan of Israel. Like, we don't ever get to interrogate in law school, and it's actually was discouraged at my former law school at WashU, to even interrogate the personality or the character of these justices insofar as really understanding what they believed in for people who didn't look like them, who weren't old, raggedy white men. Um, and I want to be very serious about that because the legal system that we built today is racist. When people say that, it's not just so like a broad brush, like, oh, you're just being, inflammatory. Like, no, these people were racist. And they were proud of it. This is not like a fringe conspiracy theory. This is not like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're saying all this about these titans of our legal system. They're only titans because of the way that they were enabled with power to exact violence upon marginalized individuals like Black people, Hispanic people, queer people, disabled people, and exact that violence to create laws and dicta and principles that inherently disenfranchise people. Like, this is not a joke. Like, this is some serious shit. And so, the fact that like I just want to talk a little bit about like how Harlan came up with this idea of penumbras in the right to privacy, which like you learn in constitutional law about how the right to privacy is found within a penumbra, which is like if you've ever taken math, a penumbra is like a shaded area within if I can just read the actual part of it. A penumbra is a three distinct parts of a shadow created by any light source after impinging on an opaque object of lesser size. So basically, like it's a shadow that comes out from a object that's just sitting right there. Um, and basically, like Harlan came up with this idea that um the right to privacy is found within a penumbra, like a shadow of the First Amendment, which is crazy. Like you could have just said, and like this is why I have beef with Harlan personally. You could have just said, "Oh, okay, we find the right to privacy within the First Amendment." Why does it have to be in a shadow? Like the fact that you put it in a shadow makes it that much less concrete and allows the government to infringe more upon our fundamental rights or freedoms, liberties, whatever. Like that was dumb. But I digress. That's not really why I wanted to come on here and talk about Harlan today. The reason why I wanted to come on here and talk about Harlan and Brandeis and Frankfurter is because the four horsemen of the apocalypse, or the four people, the four founders of constitutional law as we know it today, of due process and civil rights law that we know today, the people who crafted and architected our legal protections, codified within the Constitution and otherwise, those people were Zionists. Like that is something that we need to talk about. We never talk about that fact. And it's really, really important because it also impacts, the right to keep and bear arms, which, shout out to sponsor today, Arm Your Friends. My coupon code, this is so late stage capitalist of me to like even say this right now, but like my coupon code is honey, I believe. If it's not, I'll correct that. But yeah, you can get some money off if you go and purchase a shirt that says Arm Your Friends. But they're a great brand, black owned. I love their products. I think that this shirt is really, really cute. And I love it. Like, I hope that you go and get yourself some merch as well because arming your friends, arming your community is super important in this day and age because the police won't protect you. So, and under, the case law, if you ever read Castle Rock decision, they won't protect you. I'm really jumping all over the place. I'm sorry, my ADHD is on 10 today. But that doesn't matter. What we're getting back to is talking about how these people were Zionists. So Frankfurter was a huge, huge, huge proponent of the first settler colonialist projects and the Nakba. Brandeis was also a huge proponent of the Nakba and displacing forcibly the Palestinians. Um, and we just need to talk about that. Like, I don't think that we should be listening to or taking authority from people who believed in the violent ethnic cleansing of others. I think that that's pretty basic. I think that a lot of my law school classmates though would disagree with me and be like, "Oh, well, that wasn't all who he was." Like disrespectfully. Um, because like why would I even listen to you? Why would I even listen to you? Like that's we have a fundamental like misunderstanding of what is appropriate and what is not tolerable in a civilized society. Like to me, that's intolerable. You cannot ethnically cleanse people and that be okay. Um, yeah. So I mean, long story short, if you want more evidence as to like why or how they were um Zionists, like it's really not hard to find. Like if you were to just like Google, like for example, I'm gonna do it right here, like on the podcast live. Like if I just Google Brandeis Zionism, like, and I'll just control F on the fucking Wikipedia page. And like the reason why I'm doing this live is so that like y'all can see. Exactly. So like there's an entire section on Louis Brandeis's Wikipedia page that says Zionism. Like there that is like a head note in his biography. And it says relatively late in the set in life, relatively late in life, the secular Brandeis became a prominent figure in the Zionist movement. He became active in the Federation of American Zionists in 1912 as a result of a conversation with Jacob de Haas, according to some. His involvement provided the nascent American Zionist movement one of the most distinguished men in they really dick sucking him. So like this is basically like just a whole lot of talking about how Brandeis was such a vehement Zionist. And he basically said like He explained his belief that Zionism and patriotism were compatible concepts and should not lead to charges of dual loyalty, which worried rabbis and the dominant American Jewish committee. Quote unquote, this is Brandeis. Let no American imagine that Zionism is inconsistent with patriotism. Multiple loyalties are objectionable only if they are inconsistent. A man is a better citizen of the United States for also being a loyal citizen of his state and of his city, or for being loyal to his college. Every American Jew who aids in advancing the Jewish settlement in Palestine. He names it. He said, every American Jew who aids in advancing the Jewish settlement in Palestine. Though he feels that neither he nor his descendants will ever live there, will likewise be a better man and a better American for doing so. There is no inconsistency between loyalty to America and loyalty to Jewry. That's a direct quote. So, like, these people that were reading in law school and were forced to memorize the concepts of and, the haphazard theories that they've come up with around the law and what should be and what shouldn't be, that's what they believe. They believe that settler colonialism is okay. And I hope that today, me just talking a little bit about Brandeis, and I could get into Frankfurter as well right now. Um, because I've read so many, like just my tourist textbook. I don't have my textbooks here. I have them in my other apartment, but like in my parents' place. Like Frankfurter, like in terms of Zionism, he was encouraged by Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis to become more involved in Zionism. With Brandeis, Frankfurter lobbied President Wilson to support the Project of Israel. So, like, this is not controversial. Like, this is not something that is hidden. This is a proud fact of what Frankfurter was about, what Brandeis was about. Um, Harlan as well, like, was objectionable for so many reasons. Namely the fact that he was saying that the Warren Court, for anyone who doesn't know, the Warren Court was one of the most progressive times in American history for legal jurisprudence. That's where we get most of our rights from, like for example, Roe v. Wade, um, and numerous other um like numerous other ones, like for example, like Brown v. Board, Baker v. Carr, Gideon versus Wainwright, which gave you your right to counsel in all criminal cases, regardless of your ability to pay. Miranda v. Arizona, Mapp v. Ohio, like literally the exclusionary rule, which means that illegally obtained evidence cannot be used in state criminal trials. Loving v. Virginia, which allowed interracial marriage. Harlan said that all of that was bad and that that was going to end one day, and then that the country would then return to its great self. That all of these rulings that gave Black people, queer people, and other, disenfranchised people the rights that we now know today. Harlan was saying that that was some bad shit. And frankly, these are the people who are heralded as the great intellectual minds of our century in our case books. Like, why are we heralding people who don't think that I should be able to live or go to college or like go to, sorry, like thus, like, why are we heralding people who don't believe that I should have a right to exist? Like, and not even that I have a right to exist, but that I have a right to survive, like, or that I deserve the same rights as a white person. Like, why are we championing those people's ideas? And like people are like, oh, separate the person from the no. Y'all never do that when it's anyone else. Why should I separate these people's ideas from their jurisprudence? I think that like what comes to mind is like a great quote from the UCC author Thomas I'm sorry, Carl Llewellyn, who wrote the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code. And Carl Llewellyn essentially said that the law is little more than putty in the judge's hands, and the judge comes to the putty, which is the law. with all of his internalized biases, all of his prejudices, and everything that he believes about the world while he's deciding that case. And Carl Llewellyn, was a white guy. He's saying this and saying that, like, if you don't want to believe me and say that, like, oh, I really think that these people, like, shouldn't have unquestioned authority, unbridled authority to be able to make the laws and inform our scholarship today. If you don't believe me, just go to the leader of the writer of the Uniform Commercial Code. Like, this isn't controversial. Like, the ideas that I'm putting forward, that maybe we should think more about and interrogate very seriously the people that we're reading in law school. This is not a joke. Like, this is not to be taken lightly. Like, this is very, very serious. And I think that if we were to, as a society, seriously consider and seriously interrogate the decisions that have been made in terms of the law school curriculum, maybe we could build a more just society. I think law school, all in all, it should be abolished. Like, no other country has this. No, and I'm gonna do an entire new episode about how, no other country has law school. Like, no other country does this way. Like, the LLB system works way, way better. It's way cheaper. And law school is really just a money racket. The bar is a money racket. I'll do episodes on all of that. But like for right now, I just really want us to sit with the fact, because in this moment, it's very critical for us to be vocal about our support for Palestine and our support for Sudan and our support for countries that have been besieged by global empire and capitalism. I think that in Western interests and salvage, I'm sorry, not salvage, but like real. I was thinking of the James Baldwin quote, in terms of Israel and uh, you know, Israel was salvaged for Western interests, that kind of thing. But back to the point. I'm saying all this to say that we should really be seriously interrogating, the fact that most of our legal jurisprudence that we read in law school is also written by Zionists, and there's no other reason why we shouldn't move away from the bar and move away from law schools all over, like, and move more towards an apprenticeship program or move more towards an LLB program. Just because that makes more sense financially for our country, that makes more sense financially from an individual perspective because grad plus loans are going away. It makes more sense from a justice perspective because there is an artificial scarcity of lawyers right now, and the artificial scarcity of lawyers is because of these financial barriers and these financial burdens of law school, the bar exam, taking time off to study for the bar exam, which aren't actually really good predictors, or they're not good predictors of your ability to be good attorneys, but they're also not good predictors of your ability to practice law or your prowess towards the practice of law, or like they're just not indicative of anything like that. So I feel like I've talked your ear off enough for today. I just wanted to open up the door, start talking a little bit more about Harlan, Brandeis, Frankfurter, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, of our American jurisprudence and our American legal system, who have written countless, countless, countless opinions and are Zionists and should not be heralded as intellectually great. They should not be heralded as, titans of intellectualism. They should be, discarded or at least looked at in a museum. In a museum, like they should be like seen like from afar. Like we should be like, not, oh, this is what we should do, but like, oh, that's what they were doing in the past. That's why we shouldn't go back there, because it doesn't make sense. If we want to continue along the lines of jurisprudence like the Warren Court, we shouldn't be following people who say that the Warren Court was bad and all of the decisions made during the Warren Court, which gave us Brown v. Board, Gideon v. Wainwright, Loving v. Virginia, Matt v. Ohio, Engel v. Vitale, which is now overturned because of Kennedy versus Bremerton School District. But like, I'm not gonna get into it too much today. All I want us to do is start interrogating a little bit more about this fucked up system we got. Because this is what we got. And I'm not saying we gotta work with it. I'm saying we should really understand it for what it is. So I'm Dr. Honey. You've been listening to the Honey Pack podcast sponsored by Brown Editing. I hope that you tap in with me on my Substack. I've got a couple pieces dropping in the next couple days about sex work and um, being conventionally attractive and the corporate world and corporate spaces. It's only $5. Hopefully you can tap in with me there. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, the likes at Honey Newton. It's been real. Thanks y'all for listening, and I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Peace.